And we're back at the same score screen that you just left off at. Just kind of partitioning the way it goes. I also changed the song to this. For it is threatened in Tokyo Harbor. How fitting, as BattleBaseBeta is a battle base from Japan, and Eminence is fighting for Japan, and Eminence just lost last round. So it's, you know, it's all so awesome the way this is just pulling together. Isn't that great? Isn't this great how everything just goes awesome like that? That's amazing. That is what this is all about. We're about some spectacular entertainment for the Battle 3 community, and I'm doing my best to entertain, and I will try. And so will Eminence in this match, which is taking place on BattleBaseBeta. We have Eminence in the top area of BattleBaseBeta, playing as the Green Empire of the Rising Sun, and we have the Soviets of the Rising Northern Asia, Europe, Asia. I guess. Alright, well, yeah, the Empire of the Rising Union doesn't really make sense. Empire of the Rising Soviets. That would work, Anyways, as Tingu does represent whatever I was trying to say there, he's playing as the orange of that, what I was trying to say there. So, looks like the battle for the center has already begun. The Imperial Warriors are suiciding into the structure, getting really tough. Oh, he does not manage to crush that conscript before it gets in, causing more sacrifices. Hold on, did he not make... He must have bonsai charged way too many Imperial Warriors, not being able to take the structure out. Now we have a war between conscript and Imperial Warrior. This makes things tough. He's sending more Imperial Warriors in, which is very good. And looks like he is using the bonsai charge to its best extent. And this is looking really good for Eminence, but he's losing more and more Imperial Warriors. Here we go, suiciding into the garrison structure. If he had a little bit more Imperial Warriors out right now, this would have been excellent, as he would have been able to keep some outside with the bonsai charge. So we also have some bears from Tingu, just kind of scouting the expansion spots of Eminence, just making sure he doesn't do anything sneaky like a 3 refinery. Let's take a look at the bottom area here, where we see Tingu continuing to build his base. Looks like he's going for the super reactor now. He does have a sentry gun parked nice in between these 2 refineries, making sure that if there's any Tengu harassment, it can take them down. Notice how he walls only one side, as there's no need to put any more walls around. No need. Who needs that? I don't. Eminence doesn't. Oh, wait a moment. Maybe he does. Anyways, Tingu doesn't. And looks like the garrison structure over here, a little bit closer to Tingu, is under Eminence's control. He has an engineer being escorted by a terror drone and a conscript trying to capture this oil derrick. Let's see what Eminence is doing back at home. Looks like he's trying to do something. I can't really say what. Looks like he expanded during all that. Great idea by Eminence. Expanding while your opponent is under your pressure. Good way of keeping control of the match. Keeping control over your opponent, tying one arm behind his back, and just just beating him up with that. And I don't mean like literally tying. I mean like pinning, I guess. Pinning his arm behind his back. That would be that. There we go. That would be a better reference to say. Make it sound less awkward. Continuing, we can see that we have a little bit of harassment from Tingu. Hurting that collector just a little bit. The collector could have stayed put and taken out the sickle, but Eminence does not want to have a broken collector, because having a broken collector just means a slower income, and Eminence does not want that. However, he is sacrificing no income to have a income later on. We have good thing he managed to get these walls up just in time, but they're not going to hold out forever, as there is a hammer tank and a sickle breaking down the walls. We have a single bullfire. We have a 3 separate unit force. Very hard to counter, as there's like one of a couple units. You know, it's can't really directly counter something like that. But tank busters are really good. Tank busters are actually really good against tanks. You know, they are tank busters, and you know they really live up to their name. You know, they are steely cold warriors whose personal plasma cutter cannons can slice through enemy armor. Awesome, right? Yeah, they can burrow into the ground. However, they are not stealth. I used to always believe that they were like a copycat of a Zergling or something, just with a gun. But there was no stealth in Battle 3, and I love that, by the way. I hate stealth. I hate legit stealth that makes a unit invisible. I think it's the absolute most crappy thing ever invented for a real-time strategy game. Like, how bad is that? You know what's good? You know what's a good way to make a stealth unit? Making a stealth unit by making it not visible on the minimap. That is a great way to make a stealth unit. You know what game does that? Supreme Commander. Supreme Commander did that in the very first Supreme Commander game. They had stealth units, and since the game was all about zooming out, you basically work with only a minimap and zooming into a situation. It's really awesome, really crazy how that even works. Basically, they had stealth units, and so since you're basically zoomed out and zoomed in many different areas, when you're zoomed out, you don't see those units on them. Especially, you work with radars in that game as well, so the only way you look at the minimap or looking at other players. You know what? I'm talking way too much about something else. But the point is, stealth units, I don't like them. So we have some awesome attacking, some awesome pushing from Eminence, very devastating, and looks like Tingu's actually going for some good old economy spamming. We have a MiG fighter over there, just chilling, being a MiG. Being a weak old MiG who just dies when he gets shot at. Yeah, you know, MiGs. And the sentry gun just says, screw you, Tingu. Ha. Alright. So, one thing I like about this is Eminence is not letting up. He is continuing the offense. One thing I've always really liked about watching Eminence is that it's never really boring watching him. He's a very offense-based player. Now, I've seen some players, I remember mentioning that to someone, and I was like, yeah, Eminence is a freaking good player, man. I was like, he does so much offense, and I think someone responded with saying, yeah, that's not very good. And I was like, what? I was like, what? Offense not good? It's just like, I guess what he might have been thinking that Empire units are relatively weak, that they're not the kind of units that want to go head-to-head with other units in the same area, and you would be correct. Empire units often lose. Tanks lose tank-on-tank battle against pretty much any other tank. Tank busters are just not as good against tank busters. I mean, rocket soldiers and such. Never mind. That doesn't really work out. But anyways, on the most part, the majority of the Empire units are just not as good in the head-to-head department. But they make up in everything else, being speedy. They can suicide. They have the ability to be the multi-purpose function units, which is just excellent. Nice retreat by Eminence as Tingu is now randomly pulling back he pulled back his bullfrogs, and Eminence really, holy crap, Eminence attacking two areas at once. I think Eminence has really been experimenting, practicing with this a lot, practicing with trying to be in two areas at the same time, and I think that's a great thing to practice. He's been doing that for a long time now. I imagine he can only get even more deadly with it than when I used to play against him. So, Eminence is just attacking both areas, you know. Tank busters over here, Tengu's over here. Eventually they'll probably join forces and create the ultimate doomsday force, which will cause Tingu to just end up losing. But Tingu is just not able to he's not able to hold a strong force right now. He just isn't able to. He's just constantly under pressure, constantly having to defend himself. And Eminence is just really making full use of his harassment. I'm just surprised Eminence hasn't decided to expand earlier than what he is trying to do now. Because you know, it's unbelievable how fast income comes in when you just stop building for a little bit. It'll take about like 20 seconds maybe to get about 2,500 to get that next refinery. Now I kind of know this because I played Empire for a little bit. And that's how I used to do things. When I would attack, and then I would stop all production and build that refinery. And the refinery would come out really fast, especially when you have 3 refineries. That refinery comes out insanely fast, and you'll get back to production in no time. So, not that I'm saying what he's doing is bad, not at all. I'm just saying he's more offense based than me. I was more of an Echo Boom Empire player. I just wanted to get as much economy and spam as possible. Eminence is just freaking awesome. He attacks, he Echo Booms, he does everything all at once. Now here's a refinery core just sitting here, just way too busy microing, as he is trying to attack in so many areas at the same time. This could hurt. Now, this would really be better if I didn't read the results of the match. Yeah, it would be really so much better if I did, but that makes things so less intense for me. Look, the intensity is just gone. It's just not there anymore. Goodbye, intensity. But I'll do my best to keep it up. Yep, Eminence sure does lose this match. That's poor Eminence. So, we have Tank Busters and Imperial Warriors in the middle of the map. And we have some Mecha Tengus joining into the forces of Empire. I was going to use a word I didn't know the meaning of. I was going to say the forces join into the fray. And I was like, what the heck is a fray? You better get rid of these Tengus. This guy's a maniac. Lift these Tengus. Do something. Oh, God. He's going to suicide into the tanks. And, oh, nice little bit of a random pullback from Tingu. Still, we can see the refinery core finally being moved on the map. That's crazy. How did he find time to notice that as forces were attacking? He was just like, I don't really care for the micro right now. I guess he just went attack move, A click. And just like, okay, I'm gonna put this refinery core somewhere. If he would have had that out faster, he would have been churning out so much more forces by now. But not like that's a bad thing. Hey, look, we can see a refinery over here. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. He has a refinery all the way over there as well. I didn't even notice that one go up. But now he's gonna be going for the 5th refinery, which is just even more brutal. But his opponent isn't too far behind. He already has 4 refineries up, and but looks like Eminence is doing such a great job at balancing his force with anti-air, anti-ground. I mean, like, this is a no tsunami army. This is a no tsunami army. Look at the effectiveness of this. This is really good. I've heard it a lot in the past, especially from this one guy. There used to always be this one guy who would always be like, he would whisper to me, he'd be like, Eminence is not good. And he didn't say that. He would be like, Fergly ain't that good, or no, he would say Das Dulan is not that good. In that Baypor was the best Empire of all time. That this guy was just like, oh man, he's so good. He does this Tengu tank buster combo, and it's so good. It's so amazing. And I just be like, man, that guy's old. He's really old. Tengu tank buster, by the way, is a freaking pain in the ass. There was a player who I used to play against, Microplex. Yeah, that guy gave me so much trouble with that. Oh, look, I'm talking about me again. What a surprise. But yes, I guess that's one thing about being a good commentator, though. I think a commentator needs experience in some sort of competitive play. And I've played competitive, well, I haven't played full competitively, but I've played against some great players. And against many players. I've seen many players, just like Tingu and Eminence, grow from a player playing in an observer's room to a player that turned out to be a Conquer Cup winner. Just a really awesome player. I've seen them. I've seen it happen. And now I'm going to go with this by saying Tengu Tank Buster can be a very tough combo. Microplex was especially very good at actually microing that army. He was really strong at it, and it was very tough to beat it. I had to pull out every single trick I had to eventually stop it. And I eventually did. I did. It's just a matter of micro, really. It's like a drone rush in StarCraft 2. The only thing that counters it really is good micro. That's a lot of the things I have to do in Red Alert 3, though. In Red Alert 3, often everything is just counterable by good micro. At least I find it to be that way. If you have bad micro, every counter just sucks. There's nothing that just counters something except for like tank busters against Guardian tanks. But even that might require some burrowing micro, which is a pain in the ass, by the way, and I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about. Oh, the MiGs! No! The MiGs! Oh, they were too close. But all the VX in the meantime also died, so... But that sucks, the MiGs were just a little bit too close to that super reactor. Does anyone remember the days where the super reactor didn't have any air range? Like, it didn't have much air range at all. You could just you could just send your VX over it and just kill it, and don't have to worry about a thing. I remember that, guys. I freaking remember that. And that was awesome, by the way. That was awesome, but it was not really fair for the Soviets player. You know what's also unfair? How Tanya doesn't get killed by going in the super reactor. We have some bears going in for the kill. This bear is a hero, by the way. Hey, that reminds me. Stop the match. Okay. Imagine if they kept it so that hero units could not be crushed. Yeah. No, I'm just trolling now. I'm just kidding. There's no such thing as that. I swear I remember that though. Okay, maybe I'm not as kidding as I thought I was. But I'm serious. I could have sworn that there was once an upgrade for when your units became heroic. They could not be easily crushed. You just couldn't be. You just couldn't do it. Like your unit just couldn't crush it anymore. I don't know if that was in a Command & Conquer, but I think I remember it. I really think I remember that being existent in like Red Alert 2 or something. I think I'm absolutely wrong now. I feel like an idiot. Oh well. I was gonna say that heroic bear would have been awesome. You know what? I must be thinking of the fact that commandos can't be crushed. I must have been thinking about commandos for sure, because commandos can't, and they can indeed not be crushed. But for some reason, I felt that heroic units could not be crushed. I don't know. I'm gonna pretend that never happened. Sorry for wasting your time, guys. So we have another tank buster combination, but this time it's tank buster tsunami, which is very prone to twin blades. But as we already know, Eminence does not have so many twin blades. Wow, he actually lets all of his units get broken by the orbital drop. Why did he do that? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, especially because his bear was gone. Here's a cool thing to note. I've seen this in a Conquer Cup. I still use it to this day. When your opponent has a Tesla coil, just send the tank buster in first and just burrow it into the ground. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's spectacular. So I can't believe Tingu is continuing to hold on for as long as it can. This was the first counterattack Tingu has really been able to pull off. This Akula sub counterattack. So we have another attack, another harassment. Oh, hold on. Oh wow. This match is just so boring. This is just the most boring match I've ever commentated. Oh god. Pulled that one out of the books of day 9. Alright. No, this match is great. But it's just yeah, Tingu holding on for this long. And now he's just losing all of his water himself. He still has an MCV, doesn't have an airfield, doesn't have a super reactor. He's just in a tough position. He either wins now or doesn't win ever. Basically that's what we're seeing here right now. If he had a couple, you know what? Imagine if Soviets had a mobile repair unit. I mean, no faction has that, but that would be brutal. It'd be brutal for any faction. I have a feeling like one game they might actually do that. Like they might have a unit that just repairs other units just by being next to them. You know what unit did that? The medical Humvee. The medical Humvee did that in Command & Conquer General 0 Hour. The medical Humvee did that. It healed Humvees. It was great. It was like it's the most painful thing for a player to deal with. Because sure, you would damage those Humvees, but then all of a sudden they would just go back. Not to mention that the medical Humvees would also include those fire drones, those Hellfire drones. There we go. Oh, we have the melee from the flak troop. I mean, flak troops are like the only unit that has like what might be the only melee attack. I mean, it's not a melee attack. It's still a kind of gun, but it's basically a melee attack. Same with bears. Bears have it as well. You never see melee units in these games ever. They just don't seem to be existent. Another attack from Eminence, but will it be enough? Looks like he's going all in with this crushing play here, and looks like overpowered tsunami tanks crush everything. And that's just the result of lack of terror drone. If he had a terror drone, those units would have not have died. As I always say, a Soviet army just isn't a Soviet army without a terror drone. Oh look, here's a terror drone over here. It's almost dead though. Probably came out of a tank, I imagine. So we just have this massive air force from Eminence. No observation posts taken, by the way. You know, I just want to throw that out there. There's no observation posts taken. You know, these days we actually see them used. Some players actually use those things. We actually seen that in the last VOD with Terry Bogard and Fordell. And by Fordell I mean Edel. And by Eda, also I mean Raviel. Ugh. See, today I guess I'm just kind of off. Just a little bit off. It's just a little bit, And we have the hammer tanks going in for the crush, and he was not accurate enough at crushing that tank buster as it just actually droove. What an amazing word that is. Oh, I love drooving my tanks past those tanks that are driving. Ugh. Yeah, he drove right past the tank buster. Getting the droove tanks. He better get in that droove right there. Get in the droove. And we have some drooving going on from these bullfrogs as they droove towards his opponent's army with them, causing them to be a little bit shot up, a little bit fired up. Fire it up. That's not a Command and Conquer unit. I don't know what unit does that, but I think it's from StarCraft. And I don't think it's from StarCraft 2 either. I think it's like, oh, it's the Fire Bat. The Fire Bat from StarCraft 1 says fire it up. Okay. See, I'm a little bit out of it today. A little bit kooky when it comes to this. So, looks like Eminence is gonna continue sweeping up the rest of the match. This was like Art of Defense for Tingu in this match. He was just like, oh yeah, just gonna keep defending. He couldn't attack. Every time he moved out, the versatility of the Empire units just suddenly stopped him. Whatever happened to the overpowered Twin Blade Frog combo? I think we've seen a pretty decent one come out of Tingu in both this round and last round. He's doing really good at pumping them out. And every time, and this time around especially, we've seen how it didn't manage to do anything. I think it definitely becomes the result of that. We have a large map here. We have a really large map. Now, Eminence posted this game back into the replay section. I was going to say it's one-sided. Technically, I'd say it's one-sided, because never once did he lose the winning position. Never. He's never lost the winning position. In my opinion, I don't think I noticed he lost any winning position. He was constantly on the aggressive. However, we did see epic defense from Tingu, continuing to drag this match on and on and on to this point in time that we're seeing right now. And this Testicoil still being a Testicoil. Oh my goodness. Look at how it takes his tanks out one by one. And bam! I didn't even know Testicoils could one-shot Tsunami tanks. Eminence doesn't even care. He's just like, I'm not even gonna secondary. I'm not even mad. That's basically what he's saying. I'm not gonna secondary my Tsunami tanks. Who needs to secondary my Tsunami tanks when I can just you know, take the losses and just win? Yep. That's the end of that match. That is the end of that match. Brutal match for both players. I mean, just brutal amounts of losses. I mean, look at this. Look at the unit count. I mean, it's just like, ah, ha, ha. And then Tingu's just like, yeah, I'm a freaking epic micro master. Yeah, just, you know, I'd have to say pretty impressive plays. And, you know, look at this. This is where things seem to really go down for Tingu. Looks like there might have been a chance that he had a decent-sized army at one point. It must have been the time when he had the flak troopers and they got run over by the Tsunami tanks. Because we see minimal losses from Eminence here, but major losses suddenly here. So it looks like during that attack alone, all of his forces that he currently had at that point was basically just gone. But for the most part, it looks like Eminence lost the majority of the trades. This huge spike here, this advantage, it lost slowly, as we can see. And Tingu lost. I guess Tingu didn't lose as many units as Eminence did there, but I'm thinking like Tingu really didn't. Tingu didn't lose many trades at all. He did really well. It also brings the idea that Empire is overpowered. No, I'm just kidding. But but I mean, like, how do you lose more units and end up winning? I mean, look at the unit per death ratio. I often say the reason someone has a higher win per death ratio is because they won the match. They had more time to just kill their opponent's forces. But in this case, Eminence lost more units than Tingu. It still won the match. That is the most frustrating thing in the world for a player to face. That's one of the most frustrating things about fighting Empire. I think this is one of the best examples of why a lot of players say Empire is overpowered. Is because they can sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice and lose and lose and lose and come back with even more units and lose those units and eventually just beat you because they just keep coming with units, and as those units are heading your way, they just keep on expanding. I think Eminence made the best example in this match on how Empire abuses that advantage that it has. You know what? Not abuse. Every faction has its advantages. Every faction has its advantages. Allies have cryocopters. Soviets have their terror drones. They have their many annoying ways to micro that can force your units to just be useless. They can force your units to redirect their file by placing scaffolds of buildings that aren't finished. They can do a lot like that. They have flak drops. They have many things that are a pain in the ass. And you know, every faction has their thing. Every faction they have their thing that makes them feel like they're a piece of crap to fight. Allies, they can turtle, bunker down, build their air force, and just build their cryocopters, reach tier 3, cryogeddon, it's game over, right? Yeah, you know I'm right. But every faction has that sort of abuse. And you know what? This wasn't Eminence being abusive or exploiting the way a faction is played. This was actually, instead, the absolute perfect example of a player using their faction's advantage to the fullest potential to a point it was just so well played, it was basically uncounterable. It was just so well played by Eminence there that he just ended up winning. Even though he lost more units, he won because he just made the greatest use of his faction's advantage as humanly possible. I'd say that's what he did in that match was amazing. He did it. That was it. If you guys want to know, if you guys want to know the secret to Empire, watch this match. You will see just how powerful Empire spamming can really be sometimes. He really made use of that. He really made use of that advantage, even though Tingu had the higher efficiency ratio, higher unit to death ratio. He just didn't have that chance to attack. I think one of the biggest issues is that the map is actually really large as well, and so Twins and Frogs also have a tough time with that because you know what? No, Twins and Frogs are effective because of that. It's a very strange terrained map. But Eminence was so aggressive that Tingu had to keep his forces back. And, I mean, back in the day, Twins and Frogs were like, oh my god, how are you supposed to stop that? You know what, one thing I noticed? I played against Eminence a little bit. I did. I played, you know, no, not a little bit. I actually played against him a lot. I played over 25 matches against this guy. And for the majority of the time, I played as Soviets. And I went for Twin Frog combos. And I learned a lot, although I didn't say I learned much. And I'll never admit a lot of the time that I've learned something from a match. But I learned a lot from that. And what I learned was that when you're playing Soviets, you have to force yourself to take the risk when you're under attack. It's tough. It's freaking tough, okay? Fighting Eminence for me was a tough thing. Tingu did a great job. But I found that you have to find a way to put in that counter-harassment attack. And believe me, it makes a difference. If Tingu decided to pull back like 2 twin blades and a couple bullfrogs, like 2 twins, 2 frogs, and use that to attack Eminence with, he would have killed a collector or so. Probably would have. I mean, he could. Eminence could have definitely flown over some VX. Eminence had a little bit of everything in that match. When he had a lot of mobile units, he had his VX, had his Tengus. But I still think if you force yourself to pull out some sort of counterattack, anything, you have to make a desperate counterattack. Your opponent can't be everywhere on the map. So even if it's just a twin blade with a couple flak troopers, harassing makes a difference. Actually, I had a match in my recent ranked matches. Here we go, I'm talking about myself again, but hold on, bear with this. I had a recent match. It was Allies versus Soviets. and he did a dual rack Soviet conscript start. Now, as you imagine, because I won, he must have not have been that great, but he did okay. He did just fine. He did, you know, he did some really basic strategical play. He really did. He did some great stuff. He had his bullfrogs. He had his hammer tanks. He had his infantry. He did really good. You know, he followed up with the war factory. He did really good. I managed to barely pull off the defense. But you know what won me the match in that game? You know what won me the match? I really focused really hard on getting 2 cryocopters. I continued focusing on my advantage and my strategy. I built 2 cryocopters and a Vindicator. I sent it behind his base, killed 2 collectors, and froze 1. And you know what happened? He had 3 refineries. I killed 2 collectors and froze 1. Now, he was drained out of money when I did that. Awesome, right? You're gonna be like, yeah. I rewatched the replay. I'm like, how the heck did I really win that? You know what happened? He did not, for some reason, when his collector stopped being frozen, it didn't continue mining. So we had that happen to him as well. So his economy was absolutely crushed by 1 counter-harassment attack. And now I'm not saying that 1 counter-harassment attack is gonna win you the match like it did for me there, but I'm saying a little bit of a counter-attack, like if Tingu just sent that a twin blade with just a couple flak troopers, he could have killed the collector. Small things can add up and make a difference. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm really trying to say here. I also think Tingu, well, you know, Tingu did lose the center pretty early on. I was going to say, Tingu could have spread out his conscripts a bit more to the expansion areas, could have done a little bit on the scouting, a little bit more on the scouting job there. He could have noticed that other refinery in the bottom corner there, possibly could have done something about it. What he could have done about it, I don't really know, but he might have sent his army of twins and frogs there eventually. And then he would have eventually got his Eminence back on 3 refineries. Considering he did kill Eminence's water refinery. So you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was an amazing match. Amazing that Tingu held on for that long. And I guess that ends game 2. Guess I'm kind of exhausted now, but I'll see what happens in game 3.